Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. We just had a nice thunderstorm here, but it just has passed, so I don't think it's coming back. Had to, with strong winds, had already my equipment here, had to run up and come and cover it because it was winding little raindrops right to the middle of the roof. Recently, I listened to a YouTube video on Western man who is an expert in Agora. He talked about what they are doing, what he has experienced with his teacher. It's quite fascinating for the mind. They're doing a lot of stuff that seems to be exciting. And if somebody feels that's their way, then that is the right way. But at the same time, I thought, okay, there are all these practices to connect with the spirit world, to connect with subtle beings, to connect with beings who have been on earth previous, to connect with deities. It is all fascinating for the mind. But actually, we don't really need to go into all that. That which makes the experience possible. That is what is interesting. No matter whether it's a gross experience or a subtle experience. No matter whether it's a non-spiritual experience or a spiritual experience. I'm sure in different religions, different spiritual schools, there's a lot of practices one can do to get access to this deity, to that deity, to this power, to that power. One can invest a lot of energy into that. And if one feels like this, that this is a real desire, one wants to go that way, fine, I can respect it. At the same time, I think for myself, it's not necessary. Come right straight back to the essence. And it is not complicated. Just each one can find for themselves one way how to remember and then catch the attention and turn it back to the source. And relax and be open and be alert. Alertness is needed. So that is the job that we can learn to have, that alertness, sustain that alertness. When we meditate, And then more and more also when we are not officially sitting for meditation. When we have our time where we have nothing else to do, there we can easier put the undivided attention in the right direction, back to the source, to the here now, to that timelessness, to that sense of presence, here now, that awareness of being alive and conscious, that awareness of love. Love meaning not an emotion, but being connected with everything that is. And then learn to bring that same attitude more and more also in the active time. When we go out, when we are active, when we meet people, when we walk, when we run, when we talk, when we listen, when we are busy with manual work, when we are busy with intellectual work, then the attention is caught there, but there we can learn to really be with that, and every now and then just a moment relax and just be. That doesn't take anything away of the quality of that intellectual work. In contrary, it keeps the attention here now fresh and sharp. Now all these practices that are there to open up subtle realms, subtle connections, there is no end to it. I mean, one can go after that, but one can get totally lost in it. Naturally, for the mind, it's fascinating to be aware that there are subtler realms existing at the same time, that it is possible to have access. If it just so happens on the way, then it can be easily, naturally integrated, and one doesn't lose the track where to put the attention. But if one is desirous of that and goes after that, it's easy to spend lots and lots of time for things that are not so relevant. Let's come right back to the essence, here now, that which makes the present experience possible, whether it is so-called worldly or spiritual, whether it's gross or subtle, that sense of presence, that awareness of being alive, here, now, timelessly. Just find a way to remember, to remind yourself, turn the attention back to that. And relax and be open. And the experience of that will start to unfold in a natural way, beautifully, uniquely, from one to another. All right, my friends, I drop it now. And I'm asking you, is there anybody who would like to come in? You're welcome. I know it's always a bit abrupt when I stop talking and ask whether somebody wants to come in. But don't feel shy. If anybody had something in the mind they would like to talk about, you're welcome to come in.
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Andreas.
I asked you that before, but I couldn't find it in the videos, and it's about organ donor. I'm not sure if I should do it or not. If I die, then yeah, give my organs free for transplantation. The concern is like that. I mean, in the Buddhist tradition, they say it's very important that in your last moment, when you change from one existence to another, you're have a good state of mind, because this determines where you go, or even if you might get enlightened, if you're lucky. I know that you don't like that word. And you said the moment isn't so important, it's more the general state that you're in there. I remember that.
Yes.
But I'm kind of concerned that, like, if I'm brain dead and my spirit is, I don't know if that's the right expression, still lingering around, and then they start to take out the organs, if that is somehow interfering with the whole process.
I think it very much depends the mental setup of the being to whom that happens. If that decision is there, okay, once I leave this body, they can do with it whatever they like. And then you agree that they will take organs out, then there is no conflict in that mind. Even if the spirit is still lingering about and sees it, then says, okay, you can have whatever you can use, I'm going. But if you are not so sure, then it may give a conflict at that moment. So I would just say to you, it's not good or bad to do so, but if you are having doubts about it and are not feeling at ease, then you have the full right, no matter what other people say, to say, no, I want my body to be burned and not to be mutilated.
I just wonder if it's interfering with like my energy in a way, because when I'm already, I mean, I have to be brain dead before they start, but still, like, I don't know if that is somehow interfering with the energy that is.
Well, of course, there is an interference. If you are clear in your direction, when you leave the body, that you are going in the direction of your essence, then that doesn't matter. If somebody dies and they have not really clarity and are afraid of that, then that interference may create more disturbance.
I'm not so much afraid of that. That's what I believe. I mean, you never know, but yeah, okay.
But really, you look, have a good, clear, honest look at yourself and see how you feel about the whole thing. And then you act according to your inner feeling and not to some intellectual calculation, what is right and what is wrong. That is the best.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You have the right to decide for yourself and not have other people tell you what is right.
Yeah, I just couldn't, I can't develop a real, I mean, mentally I cannot really, I mean, because it's so unclear, the whole thing,
Yeah.
and emotionally or on the feeling tone, yeah, I might have to reconsider.
Yeah, yeah. It is a double-edged sword. This whole organ transplantation, because the person certainly will take up something of the energy of the previous owner of that organ, because it's imbued with that. On top of that, they can take the organs only if you are technically still alive. The moment you are dead, obviously dead, the organs are declared as toxic. So it's not that they wait until you are completely clinically dead and then they take it out. It's in the process of dying.
Oh, I thought it's like if your brain dead, then they just keep the body alive.
If the body is still, if the heart is pumping, then they can do so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So coming from a scientific background, I thought if my brain is dead, that's what I'm not sure about. If then where my center of perception is.
I think the main of you has already left the body. There may be some residues sticking to it and keeping the vitality of the body functions going. But you're not more rooted in the body like when you are conscious.
Yeah, I have to figure out that.
Yeah. If you have an uneasy feeling, then simply don't do it. Huh?
Okay.
Yeah. It's not your duty to donate organs. Your duty is to be consciously alive when you are alive. And then when you go, you have done your duty.
Yeah, sometimes I have to, as a psychologist, I have to deal with people in the clinic that are waiting for an organ or got an organ. Yeah. And if they got one, they're very happy. And if they don't have, and if they're waiting, so I see their suffering.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Anyhow, you have to really give the answer yourself. Nobody else should give you that answer.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, like my decision is based on my viewpoint and this is by my upbringing and the information and how I see the world. And
yeah.
So I thought you have more detailed views into like energy and this whole situation than
I'm sure you cannot say it's like this or like that. It depends the state of the being in that situation. If you are already quite detached while you are alive, then you will be detached at the time when you're leaving this body. If you are still very much attached when you are alive, then that attachment also will linger for some time and may create a bit complications in such a situation.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know how attached I am.
Well, observe yourself, and when you see attachment, relax, let go.
Yeah, I can find quite a few attachments.
Yeah, so work on those attachments rather than being concerned whether or not they are going to cut organs out of your body when you are dying.
Yeah, it wasn't such a pressing question, but it was still lingering in my mind. So since no one else wanted to ask anything, take the opportunity.
Okay, we drop the subject, huh?
Yeah, thank you.
Hari-om. Hari-om. Is there anybody else who would like to come?
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Niels.
My question is related to one of the last satsangs where you talked about when there's difficult emotions or pain or anything challenging, let me see how I phrase it. You can become curious for that emotion or that pain or that challenging thing, and change from resisting the thing to becoming more and more curious, and it will help you connect to the source instead of keeping your mind engaged in fighting it. Is that a bit?
I would say the crucial word is more acceptance than curious. Because if we have emotions that we don't like, then immediately comes the resistance. If a situation comes that is emotionally unpleasant, then if you are not conscious, then the whole personality immediately makes all the blocks. No, 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 it shouldn't be like this. And that we learn to basically accept the situation. It is as it is. That doesn't mean you have to like it, but still accept, okay, so the situation is as it is, and then deal with it. And then if we are turning the attention to our own experience, what the situation is doing to our own experience right now, and observe the emotions, observe the energies, observe all the reactions, then it can become quite interesting. Just we have to not be hooked totally on that situation that brought the emotions about.
Now you are saying what is really my question. Now the words don't come.
Words don't come.
So, okay, so for example, there's I find it very difficult to phrase my question.
Do you want to come in later, or?
It's when a problem comes up,
Yeah,
and it's an old familiar problem, and I see the dealing with it is also old and familiar. When I listen to you, it sounds very easy, like, okay, you can become interested what it's doing to your energy, what it's doing to your system, etc. But when I'm in this like merry-go-round, this old habit, it seems like unreal to do so. It's like I don't know how to do it.
yeah.
At that moment, it's
Right.
like it's so strong pulling me around that I don't have the room to stand back a little and just become the observer.
Well, the main difficulty is that most of the time then we don't remember to even try to observe. If the emotions are strong, then the tendency is to get totally lost in the situation. But then after the situation is gone, we have the tendency to still churn it around. And then eventually the memory comes, hey, wait a minute, got me again completely, and I still keep it up. And at that moment, you can turn the attention around, and you tell yourself now, never mind exactly what has happened, never mind whether I'm right or wrong, or they are right or wrong, but simply observe what this journeying around is doing to you. And then at that moment, you may be capable of doing so. To just how you are doing so, you may also ask, but who is experiencing? Or you may simply bring the attention back to the breath as a first step, to detach from the mental stuff, redirect the attention, and then you just bring the attention to your experience right now, physically, energetically, and start to relax in it. Relax. As long as we keep up the tension, then the mind has the tendency also to keep up the tension and turn around and round. But if you consciously bring the attention to the present experience and consciously relax, then the mind also has the tendency to let go of it and calm down.
Yes, that is helpful.
Relaxing is always a crucial factor. First, acceptance, and then relaxing.
And in like I have a back problem, so when there's pain, I find it very difficult to relax with the pain.
Right, right. So don't go with your attention in the middle of the pain and try to relax. You're aware, okay, there is that center of pain in the back. Then relax your legs, relax your arms, your shoulders. And then if you relax the rest of the body, then gradually that place that is full of pain may also be able to relax. And if we don't resist emotionally against the pain, then that intensity it creates may help you to drive your attention very deep in your own resources.
What do you mean?
That the very experience of pain may be used to come back to the self. Because all the mechanisms of the me personality, they, no, it's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible. And if there is basically acceptance, okay, pain is there, I don't fight against it, and you start to relax, that very intensity that painful experience has created may be used to drive the attention back to the source, to that which makes the experience possible.
So, like a good question could be, who is experiencing the pain?
Yes, sure.
And then, of course, I always find this a bit like schizophrenic. Who is asking the question? And then you get this endless division of Parabrahman, more and more. That's useless, of course. It's a game.
Don't ask that question intellectually. Ask that question to catch the attention and bring it home. There is no answer to the question. If we ask who is having the pain, or anyhow, if you do self-inquiry and you ask the question, who am I? It's not an intellectual question. It's not a question that ever has an answer. If we start to answer it, then of course we start the intellectual game. And there we can go on questioning and giving answers and answers. But actually, it's for the mind, it's a totally frustrating question because there is no answer like we are used to have answers. You are the answer, and not any concept that you can use to answer that question. As long as we answer it, then we are getting into those games you are telling. But if you just use the question as a catcher of attention and bring it back to that sense of presence, that consciousness of being alive here now, then it's not a question that starts a game. Then the question is, it stops right there with the question.
I find my mind keeps teasing me if I do that. Like, so I bring back the attention, and then thoughts pop up like, but who is the attention to now? And it keeps trying to do something.
Right.
While I understand that really the goal, or if there is any goal, if you do this properly, then the falling away of doing is really what it's intended for, I guess.
Right. That you not more do something to get somewhere, but you become aware that you are being, not doing.
So it's just when the mind keeps doing that, there. I mean, if I want to stop it, I tell the mind to stop it. That's another thing disturbing the peace.
And usually the mind doesn't listen to that. Huh?
No, it's very stubborn, very
Right.
sticky.
What I would recommend you that when you are in that situation and then that mind game wants to go on, then redirect the attention from the thoughts and connect the question with your breath, with awareness of breathing. Just ask the question and consciously breathe in and breathe out and relax. And when the thoughts want to come, you again ask simply the question without getting into further sophisticated details. And if you are aware, you are going that up, down that alley, when you are aware you're going down that alley, then you catch the attention and redirect it to simply question and breathe simultaneously and relax.
Yes, I understand. It's like the breath has to be there anyway, so you focus your attention on that, so the mind doesn't get the seat anymore.
Right.
It's such a strange thing. It's like the mind tricking the mind or something, because all of this is mind, of course.
Yes.
Because the being doesn't do anything. It's not doing all this.
Mm.
I mean, the I am is not trying anything.
No, you are. You simply are. Then the inner being is expressing itself. And then that happens spontaneously, and the idea of doing or not doing that doesn't even come in. It's just a spontaneous, natural expression. But when we try to detach from a certain level, then we have in the beginning to have a certain aspect of doing, because we are doing so much to pull the attention away from being. And then the doing is simply to somehow or other catch the attention and turn it in the right direction. And then there is just letting go and relaxing.
It's easier than my mind makes it, I guess.
Definitely. The mind is the problem because we want to make everything complicated. And then when we think of doing it a gentle, easy way, then the mind comes in that has been a lifelong, has been trained lifelong that everything good is complicated, comes in, anyhow, it's not going to do something.
This is helpful.
The simplest practices are the most powerful if we have that presence of mind and the readiness to sincerely go about it, but not right from the beginning sabotaging and think it's too simple, anyhow it cannot do anything.
I agree that the practice of Ramana sounds ridiculously simple, but it's very profound.
Of course, it's profound.
That's why I loved his practice when I learned it. That the basic book is like this thin. I don't have to read like a big Bible and make it extremely complicated.
Yes,
The core message is really simple.
right. It is. You just have to do it. And this is just one way, right? Another way is simply to consciously breathe and relax, or you can combine the two. And that's what I would recommend you when you find yourself getting in those mind games while doing your inquiry. Then just redirect the attention from those games and subtler question and trying to figure out an answer. Redirect it to the fact that you're simply breathing and relax.
I'll try that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very well. I wish you well.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome.
Can I ask a question to what you just said?
Sure.
Why shouldn't you focus on the pain if it's in one particular spot? Because sometimes I heard that, and I mean, as a meditation practice, some teachers teach that to deepen the, and then they say it's changing.
Right.
But when I got it right, you say like, don't go to the center, just relax the arms and legs.
It depends the pain. Like you are talking about sitting in meditation and then it starts to pain, then you can go very well right to that pain and relax it as good as you can. But if you have like a chronic back pain, and sometimes it may be so acute that if you put the attention there, the tendency is to get more cramped up instead of relaxing. If you can go straight to the center of the pain and relax, fine. But if the pain is too much, it will be difficult. And so I said, instead of then going to the center of the pain and torture yourself with that, just relax as good as you can. Relax your legs, relax your feet, relax your arms and shoulders. And the whole rest of the body starts also to relax, and then the pain may start to ease up, and then you may be capable of going right in the center. But if it's too much, it's very difficult.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to talk? You're welcome.
Hello, Werner. Good afternoon.
Hello, because?
Should I go? Somebody else was there.
What do you mean?
No, I had a question.
I was, but I will be after you. It's fine.
Oh,
Okay.
I see.
So my question is, in the beginning, you talked about the spirits and subtle realms.
Yes.
And you said that it is not required to go into those things. But when suppose I'm praying to Shiva, or I'm praying to Krishna, or I'm praying to God, so in a way I am trying to go into the spirit realm, in the subtle realm, and I'm trying to get their energies. So isn't it that it's a kind of spirituality? I mean, isn't it correct to do it?
Yes, that's not what I meant. I meant you can do a lot of practices to go into subtler manifestations. Now, if you have a Nishta Devata, like if you are feel very close to Shiva, then Shiva actually is present representing for you the essence, the ultimate reality. And if it is easier for somebody to connect with Shiva than doing self-inquiry, then this is perfectly valid. It's not the same like going after subtle astral realms and trying to get the abilities and make the beings do jobs for you and stuff. If you innocently, full-heartedly open your heart towards Lord Shiva, then you are connecting with the essence as much as like when you are doing self-inquiry. Then the devotee who is praying to his Ishta Devata more and more feels that divine presence there. And that divine presence is the same presence the one is touching who is doing self-inquiry, asking who am I, and simply is present instead of starting to give all kinds of explanations and concepts about it. That divine presence that you are touching when you full-heartedly open your heart to God, that is perfectly valid. It's not what I have been talking about. This is just a manifestation, a representation of the ultimate reality. And for many people, it is easier to have a form to focus on than to go to the formless. And it's not less efficient or real. It's simply, you can do so many practices to open up a little bit a subtler level, or again a subtler level, and gain some abilities, gain some powers, or have the beings of there do things for you. And that, I think, if somebody has the mind to do so and wants to spend their time like this, fine, let them do so, but it's not helping you to get faster to the essence. Whereas if you are innocently open your heart to God, whether it's with form or without form, that is directly bringing the attention to the essence.
Right. Thank you, Werner.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om. Okay, now the field is free for you, Leora.
Yeah, so I'm relating to what you said at the beginning. What I've been feeling is that there is so much letting go in the process. And as somebody said, the mind keeps doing its thing all the time, like reminding where I have to worry and why I have to worry, and bringing up problems and so on. So at the same time, I can sense very deeply this experience of being like connected and concentrated and like you used to say, like pure energy and pure concentration. And more and more I can feel that. I can even say that I can see the results, like so many gifts so-called are showing up, such as a little dog which was abandoned and found her home with me here. And she's the best dog. She's perfect. She's so beautiful, so sweet, and I know we're good friends already. But other things, like when the mind creates problems, and if I let go, or how should I say that? yeah, it's like I can see how the mind works extra hours on making it really a problem and making it serious.
Mm.
I can see how it happens, and I can see how the ego comes in.
Yes.
So I say to myself, okay, just let go. And it's working. It's working.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's working. I'm just,
The crucial word you said before is then it becomes serious. If we dwell on it and think about it, then seems to be more and more and more serious. And
yeah,
and the more we take it serious, then the more it's like materializing, becoming real, appearing to be real. But if we see that the mind takes that direction, the thoughts are taking that direction, and we are not taking it so serious, then it loses its power.
the habit is to take it serious, right? The habit is to take it.
The habit is that we have to take every damn little thing that is happening very serious. And if we learn to go about it more playful, that doesn't mean we lose our ability on this material level to act with common sense and properly. On contrary, if we are not always wasting our energy brooding over it and making a big serious problem out of it, then we just deal with the situations as they come and let them go as they go.
Yeah. So now my neighbors, they're going away for some time, 6 weeks or something. So they have decided to put security cameras on the roof.
Mhm.
And actually one of the cameras is directing my living space,
Mhm.
because my apartment is connected. It's part of their house. So yesterday I didn't think it was a problem, but then when I came to think about it, I thought, so now there will be a camera
Yeah.
like around the garden. I'm not sure what's the spectrum of the camera. I have to talk to them about it. And then I think, okay, but what do I do there? I work in the garden. It's not really a problem. But then I thought, yes, but I don't want to be photographed like that. I mean, there's
Yes.
something.
And you don't have to make it into a problem. You simply do the simplest thing. You go to your neighbors and tell them, let's see how much that camera is picking up, and if it's going into your garden, then they can go up and turn it around so that it is not filming your garden. What's the problem?
I hope, yeah, I hope they will understand. Maybe they're so afraid that they need to cover the whole area around. I'm not sure. Yeah,
No,
but
no,
yeah,
you have the right
right.
you have the right to tell them that you don't want to be filmed all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's just like I'm even smiling when I'm telling you that, because it's just like an example to things that can grow, and also to share how the letting go is very difficult sometimes.
Usually we don't dare. Often we don't dare to do just the simplest thing. And then it just needs a moment, okay, let's do it. When I was still a young man in Switzerland, I went one evening to an evening presentation of a mystical painter who had, instead of making a theory, painted his whole spiritual path. It was just absolutely fantastic. Then after showing his paintings and talking to it, there was a break, and then people could ask him questions like this. And then one elderly lady said, "Can you give us a general rule how to live?" And this man said, and that was something that was very important for me. It went right to my heart. He said, do basically always the simplest, and soon nothing will be impossible for you. It has directed me, guided me so many times. It has been so helpful.
Or sometimes not, sometimes just let go and don't do anything. Sometimes
If that
it's
is
like,
the simplest, then that's the simplest.
yeah, right. Okay.
The simplest may not always be the most convenient. Sometimes it's more convenient for the mind. Oh no, I don't want that little confrontation or so. But then it keeps on nagging and nagging. And the simpler thing would have been, hey, let me go and talk about it, and then it's done.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Okay, wish you well.
Thank you.
Adios.
Adios.
What I just said to Leora has been very important in my life. Do basically the simplest. And soon nothing will be impossible for you. That were the words of this German painter. And of course, often in a situation, doing the simplest is not necessarily so comfortable for the mind. We know deep in our heart, the simplest thing would be to just go and do this or do that. And we know it may have repercussions that some people may not like it. And then comes the conflict. Maybe I shouldn't do it because then they don't like it. It's good not to go out and shock people unnecessarily. But if there is deep down the feeling something is right, then we have to learn to have the courage to simply do it. Whether we are always successful with it or not, that doesn't lay in our hands. But whether we go that path, that direction, a situation is there, and there is a simple solution, and instead of doing it, there comes all that hesitation. Yes, but if I do this and but instead of simply do it, and so many times, if there could be a problem, it is being resolved. It's not a guarantee that the problem always is being resolved, but everything becomes so much easier if we learn to act like this. Do basically just the simplest. Okay, I'm asking you, my friends, is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome. I see. No more questions? Let me, two cameras lighting up. Okay, Vikas, you have something?
No, I'll take a break. Somebody else should ask.
Okay, because it's not coming in. Andreas, you wanted to come in again?
Yeah, if it's okay with Vikas, it's not a pressing question. It's
No
more like as a young man, I was reading a lot of Carlos Castaneda.
Yes.
And he always talks about the assemblage point where our perceptions get assembled together.
Yeah, right.
And that it outside the body, I think it's behind the body. Can you say something about that? Or the whole Castaneda thing, if you know it?
I mean, one can see the subtle bodies in very different ways. And he had a very particular way of seeing the subtle body. And there in his vision of the subtle body, he just saw one point where that was lighter than the rest, and where somehow the most attention is focused. And accordingly, how that point moved in the body, so moved the perception. And then in the wake of his concept, how he presented it, the point was, if you want to have extra sensory perceptions, if you want to liberate yourself from the prison of believing in this one reality as the reality, was to move that assemblage point, which could be moved by all kinds of exercises, all kinds of situations, or the teacher could somehow move the point with a special maneuver. But it was always a temporary thing. It would come back, but it would help the student to loosen up that fixation on this physical level. Every time you withdraw the attention from the fixation on this material level and bring it back to the essence as good as you can, you are also loosening up that belief in this sensual perceptive reality as reality. You cannot believe in it as an appearance, but then it stops being so absolute. Like, as long as we are not questioning it, then people think this is the reality. This is and realistic means to be materialistic. And every time you withdraw your attention, you could, in Castaneda's words, you slightly shift the assemblage point.
What do you think about, I mean, the whole, in the later books, like there are about 9 books, it gets to, sometimes it's very much about energy and that you have to like capture your energy back from your relatives and childs. I mean, I don't have children, so it's not a problem, but, and there's a lot of like, sometimes like fighting spirit in it. And yeah, what do you think? Do you know the whole thing, and what's
Yes.
your opinion about it?
Right, they have that thing, the recapitulation, that they go with certain breathing exercises and movements of the head, and go into all the situations that in a way push out the foreign energy that is in your body and retrieve the energy that you left behind. Okay, if somebody feels like doing this kind of rigorous exercises, they can do so, but you can also learn to learn to be consciously in the present and detach, and energetically things will adjust themselves all by themselves. If you detach from the past, then you stop losing energy. It's not so much that you have somewhere the energy in the past, but we have a certain attachment to things that keep the past alive as a reality instead of simply a memory. And as long as we are keeping it alive like this, then it's always eating up the energy. And his recapitulation was just a way of learning to see it again and detach from those memories that may not even have been in the consciousness, but in the subconscious. But then you need not necessarily go in all that. You just be in the present, at ease, at peace, and then whatever comes up and disturbs you, you learn to deal with it in such a way that you detach from it, and then the energy load that is still capable of disturbing you will slowly evaporate. It's then not so much the idea that you have to push away foreign energy and your own energy has to be pulled back. It's just that you stop feeding energy into memories and create a reality that it doesn't deserve. For a memory, it's just a memory. It doesn't have any other reality.
What was difficult for me is when they said like that this recapitulation you need to do so, because in the end, if you want to become free, you have to pass like some kind of being which looks like a giant eagle, and you have to, and usually he eats up your consciousness, and then you can pass him the like the recapitulation itself, and then you can pass. I mean, that's a very simplified version of it, but it's this kind of sounded strange to me.
Right. And you don't have to go into all that. That's all. At the same time, he says it's all pictures. It's all pictures about something that you cannot really put in words and pictures like this. I think somebody who has been living very unconsciously, and then at the time of death, there comes a boost of consciousness. And many will have to see a lot of what has happened in their life. And it will be devastating to see it from a neutral standpoint in all the situations, how strongly we have been always totally me, ego person focused, centered. It may be quite a devastating experience that you can say like the eagle is eating you up, that you are food for the eagle. Don't take the pictures too serious. Castaneda has his own way. The whole tradition has their own way. But actually, if you talk about that tradition, as the books progress, then more and more he comes basically to the same. The most important thing is to learn to get rid of your self-importance. And then once you let go of that self-importance, the path is free, the road is free. All the others are more helps to shake up all the established belief structures that are there and experience structures. And by shaking that up, you are opening up, you're mellowing, but always he comes to the conclusion what really counts is that you give up your self-importance. Self-importance is just another way for that egoistic way of existing.
Yeah. What does it mean to become formless?
You are formless. You don't have to become formless. No, the formless warrior is a concept in his teaching that exactly that you stop taking everything so personal and so important. That you just Let the situations come, you deal with them, you let them go, instead of always, ooh, this is bad of the other guy to do that to me, and all these personal unnecessary reactions that eat up the light force for nothing.
Does it mean that you're not identified anymore with your form, like your body and your mind?
Right, at least to a good degree, the detachment is there. It may not, his concept of the formless warrior may not be a total detachment, but that there is a certain level of detachment that you are free from all those immediate unnecessary reactions, and especially also free from holding on to them and brooding over them and losing in that way that energy.
Thank you very much again. Well, just say something.
I don't know, I have read Castaneda. It fascinated me. And I don't know how much is true of it, how much he just wrote as a story to point to something. And it doesn't matter for me. But what I got out as a gift, which was helpful for me, that was exactly that warrior spirit, that peaceful warrior spirit, to not to be a coward and who doesn't dare to look at oneself and see the weaknesses, but to have that courage to see where there are weaknesses, to have the courage to accept the things that they come, and then learn not to take them and yourself so serious anymore. That has been an inspiration from that school. That was the most important. All the details of his stories, they are nice to read, but I'm not relating too much to that anymore.
Yeah, me neither. But at some point it gets like very specific about like different types of characters that you have to find and put together in a certain way. And
Right,
so
right.
and this
Never
is
mind, never mind about those.
Okay.
Okay, then because wanted to come again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Werner, my question is very basic, and it is about non-vegetarian food and alcohol. How
Yeah.
does it affect our body, and how does it affect our spirituality?
Well, everything that has the tendency to make us more identified with the material is not very helpful for spiritual getting deeper. And yet you cannot say that you never should eat any meat, otherwise you don't have any chance spiritually. As a general rule, you are rather advised to eat sattvic food because it's easier to keep the mind calm. If you are eating more rajasic food, then it has the tendency that you are also mentally more agitated, and a more agitated mind, it's a bit more difficult to detach from it, to have the proper distance. But don't make it into a total rule. That's how it has to be as the most important thing. These are all kind of by the way little helps, and orient the life rather in the direction that you consume sattvic things. Listen to your body, and if you consume things that you feel, oh, they make me feel heavy and dull, then maybe you reduce the amount, or maybe you gradually give it up. But that doesn't mean if you have certain eating habits and they are not officially accepted as spiritual, that you should now radically change them. Just observe your body, how you feel. And people are different. What is actually okay for one may not be okay for somebody else. Like Nisargadatta Maharaj, he was never a complete vegetarian. He was living in a family and he wasn't eating much meat, but he wasn't a complete vegetarian. It didn't prevent his spirituality. That you are alert, that you learn to be aware what's going on in the mind is more important than what you are eating. Simply, if you are eating always in a way that the body feels uncomfortable and heavy, then this becomes more difficult, that alertness. Alcohol, I wouldn't consume in big quantities. In India, of course, it's basically looked at as something bad, although now on around in the country, I see they are all drinking, but it's not part of the culture. And so when they drink a lot. And that's very bad because it's definitely, it influences their character. They become alcoholics, and once you are an addict, then that is really changing the personality, that there is hardly any space for them but their own petty little needs. If somebody consumes sometimes a little alcohol but isn't getting addicted to it, it may not be very harmful, but also observe whether it's really helpful. Do you really feel better about it or not? And often, if people drink, then for a moment they feel a bit elated, and then after that they feel so much more down, and then you have to make up again for feeling more elated through the substance. Now there are spiritual paths where they consciously use it. In the beginning, I mentioned Agora. They do use it, but they connect consuming substances always with a rigorous self-discipline. so they don't simply get drunk and stoned, but they use those substances very consciously and try to use them to intensify their concentration, not to get somehow just a bit drunk or stoned and have a good time for a moment. Look at yourself honestly. Observe when you eat and also when you drink. Observe what is happening. And if you see that it's disturbing you, then either reduce it or give it up. If you see it's okay, it doesn't really disturb my meditation, it doesn't disturb the fact that I'm regularly connecting, then it's all right. People are different, and what is true for one need not necessarily be true for another. As a general rule, to put sattvic things in the body is helpful to make it easier to be alert. Then if we are agitated or dull, then it's more difficult. Right.
Thank you, Werner.
You're welcome. Hario. Hario. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Okay, if nobody, there is Niels.
Yeah. Now we are talking about substances. What is your view on, because a lot of people do ayahuasca and mushrooms. I feel I've done it myself in the past a lot. I feel it's not really helpful. It seems like a profound spiritual experience, but it's only an experience, and it also disturbs a lot of your energy, and it's hard to stabilize after that. But that's my view. What is yours?
Right. Right. It's now very popular. The ayahuasca. People running to get ayahuasca. And there again, there may be spiritual paths where they are using it, where those aspirants, they use it under clear instructions of an adept who knows how to deal with it, to turn it into some useful, positive experience. I don't think that many people are really benefiting from that, even if they think so, because they have some fantastic experience and think, oh, I experienced this and that. But it's exactly as you say. We are having certain natural barriers in our perception. And with psychedelics or any other substances, we may be capable of breaking through those barriers of perception. But then what is happening is that our own energy is being used up to sustain that experience. And if somebody practices, those barriers may slowly or suddenly crumble. But then that being is strong and is ready to deal with that, to integrate that experience, to become more expansive. If we just breach a wall artificially, then the experience may be quite confused and confusing, and the interpretation may be totally off. They put after that on it. And on top of that, it's eating up our life force to have that experience. You have not accumulated that force that the barrier can dissolve, but somehow to be capable to deal with that realm that is usually closed. It's eating up the life force. We can, after that, through practice, regain it, but still, it's a loss. And people who think that they gain so much by doing so, they are usually mistaken. It has had definitely people who were not spiritually interested, and through the use of psychedelics, they were opening up, that they became aware, there is more to this than I thought. There is more than what I could see and smell and touch. And that was the necessary impulse that they did get spiritually interested and get on the way. But if they thought after that they can just drop drop psychedelics, then they were just using up their energy, and at the end they were much worse off than before. But if that inspired them, that they start to practice, then the psychedelic experience may have helped them to get on the way. But otherwise, I would not recommend people to do so, except if it is really guided with somebody who knows their business very well.
Well, even then, I practiced with a very experienced shaman from Ecuador.
Yeah.
And I even went to Ecuador at some point, it's like 10 years ago. And at that moment, my mother died, and my father was alone with my mother while she was dying. This is still hard to me that I was looking for my own happiness in some strange country while I should have been with my family at that moment. And afterwards, I found out from the guy who introduced this shaman to the Netherlands, and he was really famous and well known, and he curing a lot of people, they were saying. And then I heard from this guy that he sexually abused women after the ritual and even during rituals. And even a 32-year-old American girl died in his ritual in Ecuador. And he tried to cover that up. And now he's not so famous anymore. But I could see that many people who came to him, they were blinded, almost like believing he was a deity. Right. And putting him on a pedestal. And I really, all the people here, if you ever consider this, I want to warn you, it all looks better than it really is in practice, at least what I experienced. There may be very good shamans that can really help people. But This one seemed like that, and you have no way of knowing whether you are with a scammer or with a real person. And this, I think, with Werner, you are much safer.
But what you are telling now, that is true for all the spiritual paths. There are always those people who proclaim what they are capable of and how they are can be guiding people and help people, and some of them are, and some of them are not. And then it's up to you to learn to discern. And one has to learn to really listen to the heart. And when I say the heart, I'm not meaning emotionally, but to that inner guidance. And if you hear about somebody, maybe if you meet somebody and something in you says, oh, then you don't have to stand in judgment, they are good or bad, but you can know, no, it's not for me. And then you simply pass by and don't let other people tell you, oh, what you are missing something, and then get convinced intellectually. And that's, if we are learning to be honest to our inner guidance, then we find those who are useful to us on the way. And I'm sure there are a lot of people, because there is that tremendous interest now into like substances like ayahuasca. There are many that proclaim now that they are proper guides, because they know that people come in crowds, and they may not be, but there may
And
still be. And there
it's money business.
Right,
There
of
is a
course.
lot of money in it, and power abuse, and I find that doing meditation and self-inquiry
Yeah.
is much safer and much more rewarding than all this hype.
Just reading quick message. Okay, it's also about the ayahuasca. Who was that actually? Who was that? I can see. Anyhow, somebody, yes, Sabine has written that she has had 10 years ago a very helpful cleansing experience, obviously with somebody who has helped her. And I do believe it is possible. And I do believe also now there are those people who are capable of helping people, of turning the experience in something positive that becomes more expensive. But because it's become very popular, there are certainly many who proclaim that they can, and they may not be capable. Because of that, one has to learn to be really honest with oneself and feel. When I'm confronted with a possibility, then if there is immediately a reaction of, then you can take it for sure. Yourself is telling you it's not for you. And even if everybody else comes and says, it's so fantastic, and the experience and everything, then don't be afraid that you are missing something valuable. Because all those fantastic experiences may be fantastic for the mind, but if it's not really integrated and digested, it's not helpful. It can be more confusing. And if you confront something and there is a clear yes, then that is all right. Be it on that shamanistic path, or be it with a spiritual teacher.
I guess if you are not under the influence of psychedelics, it is easier to look at things quietly and decide whether it's good for you. And what I found, what the psychedelics did to me,
Yeah.
is that it clouded my mind and obstructed my honest judgment of situations.
Right. But what I meant before is that prior that you go to that, you already listen to yourself
Mm-hmm.
and listen to that feeling, whether this is right
Mhm.
or not. Not, not that I meant, okay, go and get it and then figure out whether it's good or not.
Mhm.
Do the
That's
experience.
clear.
Yeah, yeah. Right. I mean, it can open up, but it has the tendency to be confused, to confuse things. It can make, especially people who take a lot of that stuff, that unimportant stuff can become for them very important, and things they rather would take a bit more serious and take care of them, they neglecting. So it can become a unnatural disassociation of this reality, but anyhow, of dealing with consciousness, with life as a whole. So I'm not saying a strict no, 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 but it's a tricky business. And if we can do without it, then maybe we don't need to go for all the any of that.
I agree.
Right. Shall we leave it at that?
We leave it at that.
Okay.
Yes.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
All right. Then let's finish the satsang with this for today. I wish everybody well. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.